Hi there, YouTubers. So I have been getting a lot of requests from friends, and I have told a lot of people that I'll do it, and I haven't done it yet. So today I am going to show you how to do a basic wire wrap. One that is just, it's basic, anybody can do it. I mean, 7-year-olds do this wire wrap. This is the very beginning fundamentals of wire wrapping. And then when you're done, you can end up graduating to stuff like this. And this isn't even that badass. I keep my stuff simple so I can keep it inexpensive. I know people that have $1,000 wraps, $2,000 wraps. I have one friend of mine, John, who's got this freaking Moldavite gold wrap, and he wants like something like 25K for it. Now, of course, he's been sitting on it for years, but eventually someone's gonna buy that wrap because it's just nothing but gold and Moldavite. Anyway, so I'm gonna show you guys a basic wire wrap technique that anybody can use, okay? And this is the key. You get your wire, your pliers. First, it's better to have too much wire than too little. So I always go with what I think is gonna be a bit more than I usually use, just to be safe, because if not, then you waste the whole thing instead of just a little chunk or a little piece, you know what I'm saying? So longer is better. And I think we are going to wrap Epidough, peridot. All right, we'll do a piece of peridot. Nice piece of gem grade peridot here. It's flat, it's easy, and it's ready to rock and roll. As you can see, little piece of peridot there, gorgeous, nice. It's got some nice clarity to it. And you see how it's nice and flat, and it's got a nice little thing. All right, so rounded stuff is gonna be way more difficult to wrap than stuff that has edges on it, simply because the wire will slide off. And I mean, you can make it so it doesn't slide off, but it gets tricky when you get to that point. And I encourage everybody to experiment. This stuff's only like $9 for a whole roll of a lot. So, you know, don't get discouraged if the first time around you make a pendant that is loose and shaky or even falls out, because I'm recalling my first pendant, and if I had known what I'm teaching you now, I would have gotten a lot better a lot sooner. Because I used to make it so I'd try to make the veil out of one end, and then I'd have one long wire, and then I try to wrap that wire around the rock and make it look good, and it never does, because you're just wrapping wire around. This is the next step. This is like the door to how to do a wire wrap. So take your wire, cross it over, try to get each end the same amount. What I do is I roll it down until I have this. Okay, then I hold it right there, and I give it 3 turns. 1, 2, 3. Which leaves you with this. There's your veil. Okay, and you got your bail on there, you're ready to go. All right. Sometimes when you do the twist, you gotta make sure that the wires actually come out at an angle. Sometimes the one will try to go straight down, and one will kind of come off to the side, and that can present a problem. So right before you get ready to wrap, your wire should look like this. You see how it's even? Boom, there's your bail. All right. Then you take your stone and you look at what the best angle, what would it look good at? You know what I mean? Like, you can do it sideways, you can do it upright. You know, a lot of people like myself, I like to do the thinner ends where it's tapered down as my tops, and then the wider ones as the base. So for this one, I'm gonna do a very simple wrap. I'm gonna bring in my wire. You may have to move it around. You want that wire to sit as flush as possible against that stone. Okay, and you want it to be right in the middle, right? You don't want your bail at an angle. See how my bail's at an angle? Can you see that? You don't want that. That's gonna cause you problems. Okay, so what you do is you hold the end of it and you simply bring back your bail. Boom, there it is. Now my wires are straight. My bail's relatively straight. I mean, I just need to Ugh. Do this with it. And being ambidextrous definitely helps with wire wrapping. Okay, so now I'm left with this. Obviously, unless you're trying to go for wire pattern and technique, you don't want to show wire. You want to show the rock. You want to show the beautiful of that stone. So I try to use the least amount of wires I can on something simple and flat like this. Okay, you see how I've passed the wire down either side? Now, I'm simply going to, again, making sure my veil is straight. I'm simply going to take one wire, pull it down over it, trying to keep it in the middle or off to the side. Offset center is always attractive. Then while I hold one, I make sure I have the other one tight, okay? And that's key, is you want these to be tight. You don't want them to be loose on the base. You want it to be tight. You see that? You see how it's flush up against the base right there? That's what you want. If you have it loose, it'll tend to shake around on you. And don't worry, again, don't get discouraged if you make your bail, or if your wire is loose, or even if the rock flaps around in there. If this is your first time doing it, expect that. If you don't, well, then you're a natural, right? So the only way to get better is to practice. And I actually haven't wire wrapped in quite some time because I've been working and shit. So I've only done a couple this morning. Anyway, and then the next step is you want to make sure that that wire is tight, okay? So what I do is I grab the bail very gently with my pliers, and I just gently turn it, making sure that bail's tight. You turn too much, you'll snap the wires, and you got to start all over again, okay? Then what I do is I bring my wire up, pass it down around the back side of the stem of the bail, and then I wrap it as tight as I can around the stem coming up to the bail, and that'll also reinforce the bail and the stem. So as your necklace is moving around, friction happens, and then stuff heats up and then it breaks. So this will help protect against breakage. Then I do the same thing with the other side. I bring it down, keeping it as close as I possibly can to the rock and as low as I can on the bail stem. And then I do another wrap up the top. And if you've been doing it right, you've been following me, your end result will be this. Okay? We're not done yet, but this is what you're looking for. See, it doesn't shake, it doesn't move. You know what I'm saying? That's the goal, is stability and strength, okay? Now you take these and you kind of give it a good look, and you make sure that you're not going to be clipping something off too short or too long. And then you give it a little pull. Angled pliers are the best, okay? Angled cutters and pliers. And then what I'll do is I'll snip this as close to the bail as possible, or to the neck of the bail. Make sure it flies out there instead of flying around my truck, because then you poke your finger and get holes. I bled all over a piece earlier. I actually had to unwrap it and rewrap it because there was blood all over it because I poked my finger. And we'll do the same with this. Close to the bail, being careful not to cut any other wires. Snip any other wires. All right, now you're going to be left with those wires. My camera is not the best at close-ups. You see the two wires sticking out though? Those will hurt, all right? So you take your pliers, and you're just simply gonna gently bring those wires in, and you're gonna press them up against the neck of the bail. And once you've done that, you've eliminated these wires catching hair and clothing and all kinds of other issues that happen. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll run my fingers over the edge of it to make sure. Oh, and see, I'm catching a little bit there. So that can stand to be pushed down just a hair more. You got to be gentle, because you got to remember, the wire around the wire you're working on is the same tensile strength as the wire you're working on. So if you twist it too tight or if you clip it too much, it'll break. This is the tricky part. This is where actually earlier I wrapped this stone, and this is where I broke the wires. But this is key. Take your thing. You see how I have the little bit, the wires are kind of apart from each other? This is how I make sure that this wire is tight. I gently insert my pliers in the middle, and very gently, feeling the wire, let the wire talk to you. I put in a little crook. And then what I like to do sometimes is I'll do the opposite side, the opposite direction of that crook on the other wire. Okay, remember, let the wire talk to you. If you do it too much, you'll snap the wire. Like, you'll feel it. Boom. Now look. Cool. Okay, and then one of the other things I like to do, especially with this design, is I'll squeeze these wires together now. And just a little bit more tautness because I did take out some slack. Again, you gotta be careful or you'll end up snapping that wire. There it is. Boom. There's your wire wrap. Okay, it's not the best, it's not the worst. Okay, but that's 15, 20 bucks right there. All right, now I'm gonna show you another wire wrap that's gonna be a little trickier. All right, I'm gonna wire wrap a piece of pseudomorph fluorite. All right, so this is gonna be like, if you know what a garnet is, this is a piece of fluorite that is pseudomorphed to look like a garnet. Okay, again, start off with the wire. More is better. Okay, we're not Peter Pan on this one, not less is more. More is better because, again, if you have to clip out just a few like I did, that's better than having to take apart a whole thing and throw away a whole length of wire that you fucked up on. That could have been $15. Now you've just thrown away a few cents. Okay, and we're gonna make our bail again, just like I did last time, remember? 1, 2, 3. Doesn't have to be 3. I just like to do 3 because it gives me that perfect medium. You know what I'm saying? It gives me that perfect elevation to wrap my wire around the bail, the neck of the bail, the stem, after I'm done. It gives me a place to put that wire and also helps strengthen up the bail when you wrap it. Keep that in mind. All right, let's see here. What are we going to wrap up? Something. Oh, I already said I was going to do a pseudomorph fluorite. Boom. Pseudomorph fluorite. Now these are awesome. They're pretty, they're beautiful colors, and people really like fluorite, especially when it pseudomorphs. And if you're wondering what a pseudomorph is, it's when, you know what pseudo means? It means false. So pseudomorph is when something falsely grows in the shape or formation as an associated mineral, metal, or crystal. And in this case, fluorites usually grow in squares. You see this thing is grown in a dodecahedron. Well, this is pseudomorphing. It's imitating the growth of a host mineral or an associated mineral. In this case, it's garnet. Garnets grow like this. So this is a really cool piece. All right, and again, we're gonna look at this and we're gonna find the best place to lay this wire. Again, you want, for these situations, you wanna have a nice little over, and you want a nice space to where, you know, you can make it so it will sit and not slip off. And I have found it right here. Boom. Okay, and there's other ways that you can wrap too. All right, again, you got to make sure everything's toit, like Ostens Faja. Okay, you want to make sure it's toit. All right, so what I'm going to do in this one is, after I get it down right here to the base, where right below the bail, I'm going to give this a little half turn with my fingers as close as I can to the rock, kind of pushing down on it. You see how I did that? Boom. Half turn. Now what I do is I bring it back up to the top and I look at where I'm at, and I just totally made a basket wrap. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this wire down. I'm going to bring this one up, okay, making sure I hold tension on all of them, and I'm gently, because I don't want to pull this off to the side, because it will right now. I'm gonna just do a couple little wraps on there, just enough to make it so I can get it around the bail, so I can start with this other wire right here. And this other wire is gonna come around like this and then go taut like this. And now you see, after a while, after you've learned how wires and how your fingers work, you could like do stuff like I'm doing now, and you could just run it alongside with your finger as the guide. You know, using your fingers to help keep it tight. And all this stuff's coming back. Like I said, it's been over a year since I've really wire wrapped. And so in this one, it does seem as if I did what I call a bell veil. Bell veils are pretty attractive. They look cool. People like them. And they make the wrap appear a little bit more fancy, if you would. Now again, you always want to make sure that your ends are somewhere where they're not going to catch clothes, hair, skin, any of the above, because that sucks. And then I'm going to finish off my bail here. Boom. Now I'm going to whip out my cutters. And remember again, see how much wire I was left with? Not really that much if you think about it. And I pulled a big piece off. So you really got to make sure that when you pull off your wire, and the longer you do this, the more memory you'll have about lengths and size, and you'll have that association down. So in time, you'll be able to be like, oh yeah, that's how much I need. You know, you just pull it off. And don't get me wrong, I still do it too. I still cut myself short sometimes. Matter of fact, I made a ring earlier. It's around here somewhere. And I totally cut it off I threw it. That's right, I got mad at it. I cut it off way too small. And I didn't have enough wire to go around the ring. And I ended up fucking it up. And I wasted a whole bunch of... Gwen, what are you doing? What's the matter? You got ants? Want in? Come on. You don't want to look? Come on. Come on in. Goofball. Better not be bringing ants in here. All right. Anyway, sorry, distracted. My dog was outside and she was acting like she was getting... Oh yeah, she did. She's got some ants on her. Oh, you got them. All right. So, I'm going to make sure that this thing is tucked. And then not in all situations either do you have to use the little crimps. Like in this one here, I'm going to say that that is wired up more than enough to hold that piece in there. Okay, I do see a little bit of space in between the wire and the stone right there. So you know what? And when you do see that, that is never any good. So one of the things you can do is you could always try to pull the wire over just a hair, maybe set it on something else like this. Use your fingers though, don't use the pliers. If you use the pliers, you'll break it. And I still have that space. So what I'm gonna have to do here is, because that space is ugly and also it'll promote the rock falling out or rattling, is I'm gonna go ahead and put a crimp. Sometimes you just have to, you know, and remember, when you're crimping, let the wire talk to you or you'll end up getting it too much. And see, one crimp, it's gonna hold it in, see? But now I have a beautiful pseudomorph fluorite pendant. And you see how long that took me? What, 7 minutes, 6 minutes, something like that? So now you have an idea of how to do basic wire wraps. And when you're done, if you do see some more, you could always even push with your pliers down on the wires. Again, just be real careful, especially if you have a soft stone or a fragile stone. Boom, wire wrapping basics for you. I hope you enjoyed the video, and give me some comments on it. And if you have any questions, I can definitely let you know or answer them the best of my ability. I will also do a video on how to make a ring here shortly. Rings are more complicated. Not really, but they are. And they definitely take longer. I mean, with the ring, my average ring time, back when I was making them consistently, usually was 35 to 45 minutes to make a ring. But that's not bad when you can sit there and charge $35, $40 for that ring, depending on what's in the stone. And so that means you're making $1 a minute, 60 bucks an hour. That's not bad wages. You know what I'm saying? That's when you sell it, you know, you got to break it down like that. So next time I will show you how to make rings. And like I said, if you have any questions, please give me a holler. Let me know. You guys have a beautiful day. And remember, practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. And then once you get muscle memory, it just happens. You know what I'm saying? Like I watch Game of Thrones when I, you know, do raps. Well, not just Game of Thrones, but I watch TV sometimes when I do raps. You know what I'm saying? It becomes muscle memory. It becomes second nature. Every now and then I'll glance at the stone to make sure I'm doing it tight. And then boom, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, peace. I love you guys. You guys watch out for each other. Watch out for stupid people and how they drive. And once again, be good to each other, man. You know, it's the United States. We're supposed to be country people. And take care of yourselves. Adios.